Hello everyone and welcome back to the AI English podcast, the show where you learn English while discovering amazing people, powerful ideas, and inspiring stories, all created with the magic of artificial intelligence. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm so happy you're here for episode 6. Today's episode is going to be fascinating. Whether you're listening on your commute, at the gym, or relaxing at home, I promise this conversation will teach you something new, in English and in life. Asterisk now. Have you ever wondered how technology is shaping the world around us? Or how artificial intelligence is not just in science fiction anymore, but right here changing how we live, work, and communicate? Asterisk. Well, today we have the perfect guest to explore those questions with us. Asterisk, she is a renowned expert in emerging technologies. She has worked with global tech companies, advised startups, and helped design the future of education and innovation. Her work spans from artificial intelligence and robotics to digital transformation and ethics in technology. She's not just smart, she's inspiring, calm, and full of insight. Asterisk. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to introduce Anna.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for such a kind and generous introduction. I'm truly honored to be here today with you and your wonderful audience. I'm feeling really excited and grateful. Every opportunity to talk about technology, and especially to connect it with how we grow and learn as people, is something I deeply value. I believe technology isn't just about machines or codes. It's about enhancing human potential, making our lives more meaningful, and solving real-world problems. Throughout my journey, I've seen firsthand how innovation can transform industries, education, healthcare, even the way we communicate across languages and cultures. And today, more than ever, I think it's important for everyone, not just engineers or scientists, to understand these changes because they affect all of us. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. I hope we can inspire your listeners to see technology not as something distant or intimidating, but as an exciting part of their lives and their futures.
That's beautiful, Anna. I couldn't agree more. Technology is truly becoming part of our daily experience, whether we realize it or not. Now, to start our conversation, could you tell us a little bit about your early journey? How did you first become interested in technology? Was there a moment, or maybe a story from your childhood, that sparked this passion in you?
Oh, that's such a wonderful question, Sarah. Thank you for asking. My love for technology actually began when I was about 8 years old. I grew up in a very small town, surrounded mostly by nature and simple living. Technology wasn't something that was everywhere. In fact, the only piece of real technology in our house was an old computer that my father had brought home from his office. It was big, noisy, and extremely slow compared to today's standards. But for me, it was magical. I remember sitting for hours in front of that machine, trying to understand how it worked. I wasn't just playing games. I was fascinated by the idea that pressing a few keys could create an action on the screen. It felt like a secret language that only a few people could understand, and I desperately wanted to be one of them. I think the real turning point was when my father brought home a book about basic programming. It was supposed to be for adults, but I was so curious that I tried to follow along anyway. I made so many mistakes. Oh, countless mistakes, but every little success, like getting the computer to print "Hello World," made me feel like I had discovered a new planet. Later on, in high school, I joined a small robotics club. We were just a handful of kids trying to build something out of spare parts and old circuit boards. And it was messy and frustrating, and half the time things didn't even work, but I loved it. I loved the idea that we could create something that never existed before, just by imagining it. That sense of wonder never left me. It's what drove me to study computer science, then artificial intelligence, and later technology ethics. And even today, after all these years, every time I see a breakthrough, whether it's in medicine, communication, or education, I still feel that same little spark that I felt as a child in front of that old computer. I guess if I had to sum it up, I would say, technology, for me, has always been about hope. Hope for what we can create, hope for how we can connect, and hope for how we can improve the world.
Wow, Anna. That was such a beautiful and inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I can literally picture little Anna sitting there, discovering a whole universe through that old computer. And I think it's so important for people to hear that technology isn't just about cold machines or complicated numbers, it's about creativity, perseverance, and imagination. Anna, after hearing your beautiful journey into technology, I can't help but wonder, how do you think technology will shape the future of learning? Where do you see education going in the next 10 or 20 years, especially with the rise of AI and virtual reality?
Soft, thoughtful laugh. Oh, Sarah, that is such a fascinating question. Honestly, it's a topic that makes me both incredibly excited and a little cautious. Let me tell you a little story to explain how I see it. A few years ago, I visited a remote village in South America where internet access had just recently become available. The children there had never used computers before, but through a simple tablet connected to basic educational apps, they began to learn English, math, even basic programming, things that would have taken years to reach them otherwise. I watched a young girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old, teaching her little brother how to spell words in English using that tablet. She wasn't just using the technology, she was empowered by it. It was like she had been handed the keys to a whole new world. That experience deeply shaped my belief that the future of learning is going to be borderless. Technology, especially artificial intelligence, will break down so many of the barriers that traditionally held people back: geography, money, even language. A child in a small town in Africa or Asia could have access to the same quality of education as someone in New York or London. Imagine personalized AI tutors that adapt to your learning style, virtual reality classrooms where you can visit ancient Rome or the bottom of the ocean, and interactive simulations that make learning as immersive as living through it. But I also believe we have to be careful. Technology is a tool, it can empower, but it can also isolate if we forget the human side of education. Students still need real connection, empathy, and mentorship. A robot can quiz you on facts, but it can't replace the encouragement you feel from a teacher who believes in you. So for me, the future of learning will be a dance between the incredible capabilities of technology and the irreplaceable warmth of human connection. And if we get that balance right, I think the next generation will be able to learn faster, deeper, and more creatively than ever before.
Anna, that was absolutely beautiful. I love the way you describe it, a dance between technology and human connection. It's so true. I really believe that too. I feel like with the right heart behind it, education can become not just smarter but kinder. Thank you for sharing that story about the girl with a tablet. It honestly gave me goosebumps. Anna, you touched on something so important, the balance between technology and human connection. It really makes me wonder, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions people have about AI and technology in education today? Maybe there's a myth or misunderstanding you hear a lot.
Oh, Sarah, there are so many misconceptions, but if I had to choose just one, it would be this idea that AI will replace teachers or completely take over education. Let me tell you a little story. Last year, I worked with a school district that was experimenting with AI tutoring systems for their students. At first, many of the teachers were terrified. They thought, if the AI can teach grammar, history, even coding, what will happen to us? Some even worried that they would become obsolete. But after a few months, something fascinating happened. The AI tutors handled the repetitive tasks, explaining basic concepts over and over, grading quizzes automatically, giving instant feedback on homework. And that freed up the human teachers to do what they do best: inspire, mentor, and deeply connect with their students. One teacher, Mrs. Lopez, I'll never forget her, told me, "Anna, for the first time in years, I feel like I have time to really listen to my students. I'm not just grading papers all night. I'm hearing their dreams, their fears, their hopes." That's when I realized, AI isn't here to replace teachers, it's here to elevate them. To take away the mechanical parts of the job so they can focus on the heart of teaching. A little firmer, passionate. Education is not just about transferring information. It's about building confidence, sparking curiosity, encouraging resilience. No machine can replicate the moment a student lights up with understanding because a teacher believed in them. So the biggest myth is that technology will make teachers irrelevant. In truth, it will make their role more important and more human than ever.
Wow, Anna, that story about Mrs. Lopez really hit me. I think sometimes we forget that technology should be a partner, not a competitor. And the way you explain it, it actually makes me even more excited about the future. If AI can take away the busy work, imagine how much more magical and meaningful classrooms could become. Anna, honestly, listening to you feels so inspiring. It's clear you're not just an expert. You really live and breathe these ideas. So I have to ask, in a field like technology where everything changes so fast, how do you personally stay updated, motivated, and inspired? Is there a secret you can share with us?
That's such a great question, Sarah. And the truth is, it's not easy. The pace of innovation today is faster than ever. If you blink, you might miss a major breakthrough. Let me tell you a story. About 6 years ago, I went through a period of intense burnout. I had been working on a huge AI education project. Late nights, endless deadlines, constant pressure to stay ahead. And one morning, I realized I didn't feel curious anymore. I felt tired, disconnected. That scared me more than anything, because curiosity has always been my compass. So I made a decision. Every year, I would take a learning sabbatical. Not a full break from work, I couldn't afford that, but a few weeks each year where my only job was to learn. No emails, no meetings, no deadlines. Just pure learning. I would pick something new, something outside my comfort zone. One year, I studied the ethics of AI. Another year, I explored storytelling and narrative design for VR education. And most recently, I spent time learning how indigenous communities use oral storytelling to pass down knowledge. Let me tell you, it's humbling to be a beginner again, struggling with new ideas, asking questions you don't know the answer to. But that's where real innovation comes from, staying humble enough to always be a student, staying brave enough to follow your curiosity, even when it feels uncomfortable. So my advice to anyone in fast-moving fields, not just technology, is protect your curiosity. Nurture it like a fire. Let yourself get excited about things you don't fully understand yet, because the moment you stop being curious, you stop growing.
Anna, that is so beautiful. Honestly, the idea of a learning sabbatical just gave me chills. I love that mindset, staying a student forever. It's so powerful. And I think it's something everyone listening to us today can take into their own lives, no matter what they're studying or dreaming about. Anna, after hearing your thoughts on staying curious, I can't help but wonder. With all the changes happening in the world, especially with technology evolving so quickly, where do you see the future of learning and education heading in the next 10 years? What do you imagine it could look like?
Sarah, what a beautiful question. And honestly, it's something I think about every single day. I believe the next decade will completely redefine what we think of as education. It won't just happen inside traditional classrooms anymore. Learning will become a continuous, lifelong journey, something woven into our daily lives, not separated from them. Imagine this. You wake up, and your personalized AI tutor greets you, updating you on the latest developments in your fields of interest. Not just reading you headlines, but actually teaching you what matters based on how you learn best, maybe through audio stories, visual simulations, or even hands-on challenges in virtual reality. Schools? They'll still exist, but they'll look more like innovation hubs than traditional buildings. Students won't just memorize facts. They'll be collaborating globally on real-world problems from a young age, designing sustainable cities, programming AI systems, creating art that fuses science and storytelling. And it won't be about passing standardized tests anymore. It'll be about mastering skills, building projects, solving problems that actually matter. I think one of the most beautiful changes will be emotional intelligence finally becoming a priority. Future education won't just ask, "Can you solve this equation?" It will ask, Can you work with people different from you? Can you lead with empathy? Can you adapt when everything changes? Because in a world where AI can automate knowledge, it's our human skills, our creativity, our resilience, our compassion that will make all the difference. And of course, accessibility will be huge. Technology will break down barriers. A child in a remote village with a smartphone will have access to the same education as a student in New York City. Learning will no longer be a privilege of geography or wealth, it will be a human right. That's the future I dream of, Sarah. A future where curiosity, collaboration, and compassion are at the heart of everything we learn and do.
Anna, I literally have goosebumps listening to you. What an incredible vision. And honestly, it gives me so much hope, especially for the next generation. Thank you for painting such a powerful picture for us. I truly believe everyone listening is feeling just as inspired right now. Anna, everything you've shared so far is truly inspiring. But I also know that behind every success story, there are tough moments too. Have you ever had a moment where you felt like giving up? Maybe in your studies, your career, or just in life? And if so, what helped you keep going?
Yes, Sarah. I've had those moments. And honestly, I'm grateful for them, even though at the time they felt like the end of the world. One story that comes to mind happened about 8 years ago. I had just started a major research project in artificial intelligence, and it was my dream project. I poured my heart and soul into it. Months of work, late nights, constant travel. I truly believed it was going to make a difference. But then, it failed. Not because the technology didn't work, but because of bureaucracy, funding cuts, and a few mistakes I made as a young and eager researcher. I remember sitting in my apartment, feeling completely defeated, thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should just quit tech altogether and do something easier. I even drafted emails to resign from my position. I was so close. But what saved me wasn't some grand, heroic moment. It was something simple, a conversation with a mentor. Someone who had seen failure 1,000 times and told me, Anna, failing doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means you were brave enough to try something hard. And that's what makes you belong here. He reminded me that real success isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up every single time. So I stayed. I picked up the pieces. I redesigned the project. It wasn't perfect, but it led me to opportunities one could never have imagined, including working with incredible teams across the world and eventually helping shape policies on ethical AI development. Now, when I mentor young people, I tell them the same thing. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every fall is a step forward, as long as you get up and keep moving. And sometimes, the biggest breakthroughs come after the moment you wanted to give up.
Anna, thank you so much for sharing that. It's not easy to be so vulnerable, especially in a world that often only celebrates the highlights. I think so many people listening right now needed to hear that. That it's okay to fall. That it's human to feel lost sometimes. But that those moments don't define us. How we respond to them does. And honestly, Anna, your journey just makes your success even more inspiring. I'm even more excited for what we're going to dive into next. Okay, Anna, let's have a little fun now. Imagine tomorrow you wake up and you have the power to invent any futuristic technology. Absolutely anything, no limits. What would it be? And why?
Oh wow, that's such a good question, Sarah. Let me think. All right, if I could invent anything, it would be something I call the memory weaver. It would be a small device like a pendant or a bracelet that could capture not just photographs or videos, but the actual emotions and sensory details of a moment, the sounds, the smells, the feelings, the heartbeat you had when you lived it. Imagine being able to replay the exact feeling of hugging your grandmother, the excitement of graduating, or even the peace of watching a sunset by the ocean, and feeling it again, exactly as it was. I think sometimes we lose touch with the most beautiful parts of life because memories fade. Technology like this could help people stay connected to their happiest moments, their greatest lessons, and even their loved ones, long after they're gone. Of course, it would have to be used ethically and responsibly, but done right, I think it could heal hearts, inspire creativity, and remind us of what truly matters.
Anna, that gave me goosebumps. What a beautiful invention. You're right. In a world so focused on rushing forward, having a way to truly feel our memories could be life-changing. I hope someone out there listening will get inspired and maybe make it happen one day. Anna, I just want to say a huge thank you for joining us today. Your wisdom, your experiences, your stories, they touched me deeply, and I know they touched our audience too. You reminded us that technology isn't just about machines and codes. It's about people, about dreams, about perseverance, about heart. And for everyone listening, remember, whether you're learning English, chasing a new career, or just figuring out life, it's okay to fall. What matters is that you keep standing up, and that you stay connected to what truly lights you up inside. If you loved this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with a friend who needs a little inspiration today. And who knows? Maybe next time we'll be talking about your invention, your journey, your dreams. Thank you all so much for being with us. Thank you, Anna, for your light. And we'll see you all next week for another incredible episode of the AI English Podcast.